Should hear. Being truly bilingual can give your child lasting advantages throughout life. But what's the best way to raise a child to speak two languages properly? Our Maria Garcia shows us in tonight's special report.
So this is a fiction.
The early childhood experts we spoke with agreed. The earlier you expose your child to more than one language, the better.
Uno, dos, tres.
So when you have a baby or an infant at home, why not make the best of it then? That is when they develop what we call the bilingual brain.
¿Es una cámara?
I've been trying to figure out how to raise a bilingual baby. Fearing the familiar tale of border children who forget all the Spanish they learned once they head to school, I've had a Spanish-only policy with my 10-month-old baby, Jael. But Dr. Maria Izquierdo, a linguist who focuses on early childhood education, made me rethink that.
If he's in a bilingual household where he hears both English and Spanish, guess what? The sounds in English and the sounds in Spanish become part of his inventory. That's why children, when they're introduced to languages early on, they don't have an accent, because they have a lot more time practicing it, and it becomes part of their inventory.
Do we have a little kitchen?
Region 19 Head Starts have different ways to teach little ones. Some centers do a full week in English, then the next week they repeat the same lessons in Spanish, or they alternate languages every day. But there's one strict rule.
Not to mix the languages. You know, we need them to keep it pure. When you mix the language and children know this and they're just waiting for you to say it in their language, so they'll tune you out. So we ask them to keep it pure.
So language experts recommend not switching languages in the same conversation with your kids. If you want a bilingual child, don't allow Spanglish.
Introduce them to both. You know, if you're reading a story, if you're talking to them, have a designated time where it's just English or where it's just Spanish. Children are not going to get confused.
You do want to make that point at home. You do want to speak to your children, ideally in both languages, ideally. And read to them, ideally in both languages.
But speaking two languages is not enough. For example, I speak what linguists call social Spanish, the basics I learned at home with my family, whereas my English is academic English. So I have a hard time expressing complex ideas in Spanish. So experts say if I want Jael here to speak better Spanish than I do, I have to speak to him more often in Spanish, and I have to strive to use more advanced vocabulary.
Stories where they are really exposed to tier 2 words. And those are words that are a little bit higher level. Instead of just pretty, you know, beautiful. It's going to take more than just the words. You know, you're going to have to use your whole body, your hands.
Here are some research-backed guidelines to raise a bilingual child. Start early, even as infants. Don't mix languages. Encourage children to express themselves exclusively in one language per conversation. And push yourself to speak in more than the basic social way. Strive for bigger words, expressing complex thoughts.
It's got to be a real conscious effort that parents make to maintain that fluidity and that practice that children need.
And that should help them grow into bilingual adults. Maria Garcia, ABC 7.
Manitas.
He's off to a great start.
He certainly is.
Yeah,
He's got a great teacher. He's got a good
Yes.
teacher, too.
We'll be right back.